Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tonight, I'd like to talk about a story that has been taking the rounds in the social media. The young man, Whitnell Chivayo, he came to the attention of the public. He first came to the attention of the public, at least for people like myself and many others, when he was awarded a contract to construct a solar panel, a solar substation rather, uh, for a town outside Bulawayo in Matabeleland South, Gwanda, by the local power authorities. He was paid for it, and the only thing he installed was a little shack for a security guard. Nothing else happened. And it was believed he was paid as much as $5 million US. He started appearing in the media showing off some of the things that he did with the money. Shoes was his favorite thing. As pictured, a number of photographs appeared on the social media with him having a pile of money, another one with him having 33 pairs of shoes, designer shoes. Story goes that he was at one point and served jail time. How he got to be awarded a tender for 5 million, one very few people really know. But from there on, from the CESA contract, he seemed to have blossomed because the case went before the courts, and the courts, strangely enough, awarded him compensation for what it wasn't very clear, since it was CESA that paid him and he never delivered anything. But the courts, in their infinite wisdom, awarded them compensation. And so he was paid even more money. And from there on, he has become one of Zimbabwe's millionaires. Very few people know what he really does on a day-to-day basis, except that he's got a lot of money. And recently, there's been leaked audio recordings of him boasting that he controls many people in Zimbabwe, including the president himself. Welcome to you, Benjamin. What can you tell us about this guy, Chivayo?
Good day to you all. Thank you for having me. Interesting week. Well, Chivayo he says he's a businessman, but a businessman with no particular portfolio that he can specifically say I'm into this. I would like to quote even sorry, I forgot his name. this white guy that used to work at the Reserve Bank, that used to help at the Reserve Bank,
Eddie Cross.
Eddie Cross. He says he's one of those guys that he doesn't employ anyone, but he's a millionaire, you know. So that's the kind of guy that he is. You know, it would be nice to actually see his books, his taxes, and all that, you know, to come to the surface, and then at least we can know exactly what he is actually into. But like we know now for a fact is that he is somebody that is into government tenders. All they do is, you know, register a company. They just hear there's a tender, or they get given a tender, and then they just create a fictitious company, and then, you know, they're in business. That's how they're working. So that's just a brief overview of him that I can say. He's got no record whatsoever of what exactly he does, and whatever he is claimed, you know, to have done has not worked out. I mean, this is evidence with the Gwanda project. And if he was the one that was, you know, in the, you know, supply of election material, we saw the delays and, you know, the shortages of ballot. That just shows that, you know, this is what he is all about.
Yeah, the Gwanda project, he never delivered. And yes, I know one of the latest stories was that he was one of the people who was awarded the contract by ZEC to supply materials for last year's elections. And God knows whether he did supply it, and if he did, how much he was paid for it. And the chances are he would have been overpaid for it, judging from the amount of money that he keeps splashing around. I mean, he has got a fleet of Porsche cars, and he has been giving them some of other people Porsche cars, buying them Porsche cars, as if there's no tomorrow. I mean, the guy, I totally agree with you. If there was any justice there, I think there should be uh, an audit, a lifestyle audit. Where does he get his money? Has he been paying income tax? Those are questions that many Zimbabweans are asking. Because one of the tragedies with all this looting is that the money is being taken away from the nation. This is the money that should be used. Take, for instance, that first project we're talking about, the Gwanda project. If he had installed and built the solar generating station and was feeding onto the grid, or even just feeding the town of Gwanda alone, that would have made a lot of difference to the people who live in Gwanda. Basic services like their hospitals would have power supplies, reliable power supply. And yet they don't. And basic industries would have had, and that money, whether it's 5 million or 50 million, would have been plowed back into the economy and used to grow the economy. The downstream benefits to the economy of Gwanda would be there for everyone to see today. And yet that money was abused. This is what is so tragic about this corruption. And now it appears that he's getting so powerful that he has got even the president himself in his deep pockets, according to him. This is really tragic. Where is this country going to? How have we reduced ourselves to this? And this is the same Mnangagwa who, this time last year, was on the international spotlight, under the international spotlight, as a result of the Al Jazeera gold mafia documentary. And he was at the heart of it as well. He was number one, as some of the operatives in that gold mafia called him. And they were claiming that as long as they have got Mnangagwa behind them, they feared nothing. It's really tragic, Benjamin.
And thank you for bringing that up. A lot of Zimbabweans are waiting to hear what is ED's reaction. How is it going to work out? We're forgetting to ask the question to say, why was he even involved with such a character in the first place? Here we have somebody that has vowed to stop corruption. He has set up, ZEC, the Anti-Corruption Commission. This is now evident to show, this is why for 14 years we have never had any arrest, because they themselves are deep inside these mafia groups. It's just not him, ED. Everybody is looting within, whatever position you are. I believe somebody is stealing or is looting from, from within their area. This is why we cannot make even a single arrest, because they are all involved. I mean, look, surely you got a shady character. You do not know, what he deals in, what he sells, right? Show us what you are doing. He cannot, but he can show us the money. Even a thief can do that. He will show you the money, but he cannot show you, where he's getting the money from, right? So this is, and then what irritates me the most is, here he's now buddy with, somebody that is entrusted with the highest office, in the land. And you are giving this person here contracts, big contracts. You actually even is bragging that he is getting paid in advance. All I just have to say is, I am the son of somebody. And then he gets given money in advance. And then here he is, loud and clear. You can deny that is his voice. Here he is, he's already saying to others, once you get there, you start eating. That the first thing, before you even set up project, or set up works, let's eat, let's share. And unfortunately, in his excuse, I did not know who DG is. I did not know who Mom is. But in his letter, he explained who those people are. You understand? This is him. And my question is, why are we doing this? Why is the, Mnangagwa involved with this guy if he himself is not as equally as corrupt? There are many companies in Zimbabwe. There are many individuals, that can actually do better jobs. I mean, the other, some other company was awarded this electric, solar panel tender. He's since delivered. And then ZESA does the same thing. They give him an even bigger deal. Now here they are. The only way Starlink could operate was through him. There's something that is just worrying with this whole thing. And I think the answers, we won't get it from Chivayo, but we'll get it from ED.
Well, as for getting the answers, all I can say is we'll never get any answers, Benjamin. Let's be realistic. As long as we have got a political system in which Mnangagwa is not accountable to the electorate, this will continue. You referred earlier on about his promise that he will have zero tolerance to corruption, and yet corruption, ever since he got into power, has gone into overdrive. This is a regime that knows that as long as they are not accountable to the people, they will do as they please. His number one priority last year was to rig elections and to secure his retention of power for the next 5 years. And most of these people who are involved in this wholesale looting that has been taking place in Zimbabwe would have contributed towards the vote rigging machinery because they know that once ZANU-PF wins the elections, they'll be able to recover their costs. And hence they are recovering their costs. And people like Chivayo, I can rest assure you, he himself, in fact, in one of the audios posts about it, that he has got important people in his pockets. This is an individual who will probably have sensitive information about some of the key leaders, and they dare not disappoint him. Because if he was to spill the beans, they will be in serious trouble themselves. And hence, he is using that blackmail to blackmail those people to do as he please. No one will ever ask him to account where is he getting the money. And when some of these projects, invariably, some of the big players would have a cut. And therefore, then it's easy for him to win those contracts. And he doesn't even have to bother to deliver anything because he knows that he has paid a share to the right people with the right power. And so he will get away with it. This is the problem in Zimbabwe. I think we are making a big mistake if we think we can address the economic problems like gross mismanagement, rampant corruption, without addressing the political problem. And that can only be solved by having free, fair, and credible elections so that we cure ourselves of this case, double case, of rigged elections and bad governance.
Yes, I agree with you. The only way we can get rid of this problem is by going for the source and not just cleaning the surface. It's sad what is developing in Zimbabwe, especially, I mean, we have a leader that has been implicated in almost every shady deal that is happening. Gold, you name it, diamond. Now he's playing with the low ranking guys. He's deep in the mud. He is looting on all fronts, and everybody must pay dividends to him. As long as you get something, you pay him, he's all right. I mean, we used to see the picture, and I think, the people that actually, gave us this information for us to hear it for us, I think is the people in ZANU-PF that are disgruntled with whatever is happening on the ground. People are not happy with how this whole relationship was turning out to be, you know. And now we actually see where it emanates from. It's through, in Shona they say Shamare Umbafa. These guys are two shady guys that, understand each other's language. And unfortunately for us, we decided to put the top thief as the gatekeeper. So we are really, really in trouble. And like you said, the only way we can, rid ourselves of this curse is, and there is absolutely no other way. We can talk of, we will, Chamisa will one day, we are all talking nonsense if we are going to say that. I know it's a very, very unpopular, subject, but the only way is to implement reforms. This will change what is happening now. Now, as it stands, it's all systems go. They are no longer even shy to display, their corruptness. They do it, broad daylight, because, like you said, they are not answerable, so they can do as they please. But if we, can implement reforms, stop this nonsense of we are going to win rigged election. There is nothing. This will continue. These are the results. It's now paid back. They used money to rig the elections. They need to recover their monies, and this is exactly what they're doing. And unfortunately, the opposition that we have, that is also within parliament, is now captured. We will never find answers to this. No question will be asked, lest they also get kicked out of, the same cookie jar. So we are in trouble. It's up to us, to find ourselves.
Well, this is a picture of him in his earlier days when he moved in high society. This was him in Dubai, according to somebody, with Mugabe's daughter and son. So this guy has come a long way. And yeah, like you said, he's now filthy rich. He can afford to boast of his power, his political power, and that he has got so many people in his deep pockets. But like I said, this is not going to end. As long as people like Mnangagwa are in power, nothing will happen. Some of the audios that he leaked, if it was in a country where the police are still willing to do their work, he and many of the people he named in those audios would have been picked up and will be under arrest right now and being thoroughly investigated. Because when somebody talks of giving 1 million to somebody, no receipts, nothing, there is definitely something fishy going on there. So I think this story just confirms what we already know, that corruption in Zimbabwe is rampant. And we are not going to stamp it out as long as we have ZANU-PF in power. The challenge for the people of Zimbabwe today is to focus on 2028. How are we going to make sure that 2028 elections are free, fair, and credible? That is the challenge. At the present moment, I do not see ZANU-PF implementing any reforms. And the Triple C political members who are still in power today in parliament and so forth, in the Senate and so forth, they are not really interested in any way putting any pressure on ZANU-PF to hold free, fair, and credible elections. Meanwhile, Chamisa is up to his usual tricks. Recently, he has been pushing that he's going to get the 2023 rigged elections addressed. I don't think there's anything he can do. He's just doing his usual tricks of wasting time. Nearer as we get to 2028, he will abandon that and then promise that launch his new party and promise that it's going to deliver. He's going to win and there's change around the corner. And the millions of ordinary Zimbabweans out there would once again believe him. As long as the opposition participate and the people of Zimbabwe themselves participate in their millions in these flawed elections as they did last year, I think we are putting organization like SADC into an enviable position where they have got to say ZANU-PF does not have legitimacy, when the opposition and millions of ordinary people have participated in those elections. That is simply unrealistic. SADC, it is not for SADC to make sure that elections are free and fair. It is for us, Zimbabweans, to make sure that elections are free, fair, and credible. I think we need to do our work. We need to wake up to that reality, because that is the only way we're going to get to end this disastrous situation. Mnangagwa is no longer in control, and the regime is dragging the nation into deeper and deeper crisis. Zimbabwe is a failed state. Mnangagwa himself, instead of ending the corruption, is at the head of it. He's the godfather of corruption. And even upstarts, like our friend here, is taking advantage of him. He's taking advantage of his weakness. And that cartoon, I think, depicted the true picture of the situation here. The president is now the donkey pulling the cart of the looted wealth. How tragic.
Yeah, it is. It is sad to see a situation like this. You know, once thriving country, one country that was supposedly to become the next, South Korea, has turned out to be North Korea, in all but name. But I believe SADC has done. We do not appreciate what SADC has done for us. SADC has given us a platform and has shown those that did not believe that these elections are a farce. These elections are not free and fair. They have said it in black and white. This is now evident to those that still want to participate in rigged elections. SADC was never meant to come and hold elections for you. It's, they just give it whether it's a good bill of health or not, and they did exactly that. And they went a step further and gave you, where you need to address before you go into the 2028 election. And they've been doing so for the past, I don't know how many years, and we have been ignoring. The opposition has been ignoring, going still as things stand. I mean, that is the most foolish thing to say. You know what is going on. Somebody from outside your house has seen that, you are being tricked, but you still say, I don't care. I will win despite that trickery. I mean, you are trying by all means to, to do the impossible, yet the possible is easier. I do not understand. I cannot comprehend sometimes, how we figure we are going to win on a system like this. SADC has given us the recommendation. If we cannot, write down our own, set of reforms that we need, let us just take that, that report and say, you are a member of this, fix this so that we do not have the legitimacy problem for you and for me next time. You know, that's how you get the ball rolling. But unfortunately, the opposition got greedy. They went for the seats, taken away, those seats were taken away from them, and now they are just in sixes and in sevens all over haphazard around the country, aimlessly. Waiting until, like you said, 2028. Let's go and do it again, boys, without any reforms implemented, and we will be back again. And as things stand, Chivayo is getting popular and popular and popular, and is rising in the ranks of ZANU PF. I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow you will want this year. In Shona, they say, "Anenga kutodawo chimuti ichochi." Is it? This is how it goes. Corruption can, and money can get you places. All you just have to do is find the willing buyer or the willing person that wants to accept that, that bribe, and then you go up places. And we will get into trouble if we do not change our ways. I think we are still at a good position where if we can realize our mistakes, we can quickly sort it out. Then until this rot has gone so deep that even the youngsters in Zanubia are going to start doing it at the top. At the top. This is where it's going. You know. So I think we have a lot of work to do. We've got a work cut out for us, obviously. But if we put our acts together, I can see we can change Zimbabwe.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think it's a pity that we keep going back and forth over the same issue and seemingly making very little progress. But like I said, the emphasis here is that corruption, mismanagement are going to continue as long as ZANU-PF is able to rig elections and stay in power. That is the truth. The solution is to implement the democratic reforms and make sure we have free, fair, and credible elections. I'll just finish off playing a video clip of what Dr. Neves Mumba, the Zambian guy who was the chairperson of the SADC election observer team.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, let me be clear that the changing of any dynamic or situation in any of our African countries is a preserve of the citizens of that country, in this case, the Zimbabwean people. An election observation team goes there to support the process by observing and being able to release a statement of our observations. That, for instance, in Zimbabwe, we raised several issues of transparency and also the independence of the Electoral Commission and things which happen in many other countries, But at the end of the day, once we produce the report and make it available to the Zimbabwean authorities and eventually to the Zimbabwean people, it really remains the preserve of the Zimbabwean people to fight for the freedoms that they need themselves and to correct those issues that have been observed. The reason why we have multiple observation missions is to ensure that, there is a comparison, taking place between the SADC report and the European Union report, the African Union report. And then they can see that those issues that repeat themselves in all these reports, it's up to the Zimbabwean people. And this is where I appeal to all political leaders, not only in Zimbabwe, especially the elections that are coming in Mozambique, they're coming in South Africa, in DRC. We have to make up our minds that, look, at the end of the day, once the people in the country are given an opportunity to monitor the elections, because they also monitor, it starts not during the day of elections. They must make sure that the constitutional lacunas that can affect a good election are dealt with months before the election. And they must fight to ensure that there's a level playing field. They should never wait for the time when the election is taking place. They must also insist that the electoral commissions and the governments in those countries abide by international norms in holding democratic elections. And this fight must be more vicious before the election comes.
I couldn't put it better myself. That is really where we should be focused on. What we are seeing here with stories like this young man, Chivayo, boasting about how he controls the president should make us revisit this issue of reforms to make sure elections are free, fair, and credible. We can dwell all we want on how he is winning all these contracts, government tenders, and so forth. He seems to be making his millions from tendering without ever delivering anything. But that would not end this corruption. The only sure way to end the corruption and mismanagement in Zimbabwe is first by making sure we've got free, fair, and credible elections. And we are able to vote corrupt and incompetent ZANU-PF leaders out of office. As long as they're able to rig the elections, we'll be talking about this past 2028, which will be tragic.
In conclusion, I would like to say, we have, from the video that you have played of Dr. Mumba there, it's funny how we are so selective as Zimbabweans. We have taken to heart his report, but we have shunned his advice. We want what he has written, or what he read in that report, what he represented. But here he is after he has come out to say the onus is on us, to get ourselves out of this mud. It's for us to make sure that before we even engage in this election process, we have a level playing field. We have something as basic as a voter's roll. We have a free and fair ZEC that is going to be running the whole affairs of this country. All these things we should be having before we even embark on these elections. This is the advice, but we do not want that sound advice. We just want the report, and everybody's talking about the report, the report, the report, and forgetting about the advice. This is where we are very, very selective, and we make that mistake. This I think this is the best advice. The report, yes, it was a good report, but this is the best advice going forward, because that report was spoken about, and I don't think anything is going to come out. And he personally just said, it's not for us to help you, it is for you, you know to help yourselves. We give you pointers where you need to fix. So this whole notion and all that, let's not continue to dwell on it, and to be tricked and to be told we are going to do this, we are going to do that, trying to buy time and be relevant until 2028, and then get promised a lot of nonsense. This is the proper sound advice. And in conclusion, this is what I would like to say. I agree with him, and this is what we have been trying to say. If you can want his report, want also his advice. And this is exactly what we have also been advising for a very, very long time. you know so yeah, that's what I would like to say in close. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benjamin, and thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. I hope you'll be able to join us again tomorrow, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwe time. Thank you and good night.